Huda, I'm so thrilled to see your book, Yes, I'm Hot in This, and to be able to talk to you about it. So welcome to Let the Quran Speak.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to see you matching it.
Yeah, you're right, blue and blue. So, it's very rare to see, in the public imagination, to see a Muslim wearing hijab making people laugh. So what do you think is, there's a novelty factor to that, isn't there?
Oh, yeah. It was definitely something that I felt was missing, and I wanted to kind of fill that space in. And, after Trump was elected, there was always this, kind of like hum of Islamophobia and racism and everything in the background. And then after he was elected, it was almost like someone had turned that volume up. And because of social media, it just became like you were seeing things happening and hearing them happening in real time. And it was so visceral and violent. But in the webcomic community, I started noticing a lot of webcomic artists that were introducing kind of quietly in the background these hijabi characters, and it was not lost on me just how much glee that gave me. I've been a fan of comics since I was really young, and so then I thought.
So what sort of comics did you see hijabi characters in?
They were they're webcomics. Like there's a webcomic called Introvert Doodles. There's an illustrator called Adam Tots, Lunar Baboon. They were just different webcomics, and they were just introducing these characters. They were not recurring. They were literally just kind of there existing. And just to feel...
They weren't main characters.
They were not main characters. They were just in the background. And it felt so nice to just see myself, like just doing normal, everyday things. It was nothing about terrorism. It was nothing about being liberated. It was literally just these Muslim women existing. But they were non-Muslim authors or illustrators. And so that was not lost on me either. And so I thought, why don't I do that? Why don't I create a Muslim character? And it was, in the beginning, it was really just for myself to kind of... It was like a therapeutic, just a
venting
mechanism. And I was like, I might as well post it online and see if and I really thought it was super niche. I thought it was other hijabi Muslim women who were going to appreciate this and relate to it, and it just turned into this really big thing. And I've just been enjoying the ride.
So this has been two and a half years now, right?
2.5 years.
And it has just skyrocketed.
Yeah,
everybody knows of this. Everyone in the Muslim community that I've spoken to is aware of your comics.
That's awesome. That makes me feel so happy. I hoped it would happen. Never really thought it would, and truly it feels like from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, just like 100%. My publisher found me, my agent found me. I had initially, before I even started, I did pitch some ideas to agents, and they were like, who are you? Like, why would we want you? Go build a base and come back. I was like, challenge accepted.
I mean, it's a great medium, because if you write an article and try to explain to people, like, this is what people are telling me as a Muslim woman wearing a hijab, people tune out, right? Nobody wants to hear it. But, you have a little picture there and a few words, and people get the message, and they're laughing at the same time. So it's wonderful.
It's edutainment.
Exactly. We're in the age of edutainment.
Exactly. That's the way. And it's like the red one said, the fastest way to kind of like get people on your side or to really see your point of view is to make them laugh. And so, we see that with late night shows, and we see that with, The Simpsons, and you can make so many political statements and observational notes and with humor. And so I really like that I can do that with, and it gives me so much freedom. I think, to be silly.
I mean, I like the fact that Huda, the main character, which is based on you, right? I like the fact that she's a blob figure.
Oh, yeah.
She's not fancy. She doesn't
really
look fancy.
To draw.
Yeah, she's not glamorous. She's just the average, everyday Muslim woman going to the store. That's how she looks, and that's how she acts. And
it was definitely a conscious choice, because sometimes I do feel like just a blob, and that's just I wear abaya every day. I wear my hijab, and sometimes I just I don't even realize how strange I must look to other people because it's become so normal to me until I see myself on a camera. Like if I'm at a grocery store and they have those cameras, and I look up and I'm like, who's that?
Some of what you've said, I can't really relate to, because I grew up in Toronto, so there's a very wide Muslim community here.
I feel like people don't. What do you mean? Like what is the things that you can't relate to?
You said you grew up in the suburbs of Houston where everyone's white.
Oh, I grew up in Dearborn. I just moved to Houston.
Oh, okay.
So there's a lot of Arabs.
So where I grew up, there are a lot of Muslims. I don't really hear those sorts of things on a regular basis. So when I read your book, it was almost like, oh, this is how it is in a lot of parts,
Can I tell you
in
something?
America.
It's going to shock you. Most of that happened in Dearborn, where the majority of people are.
Why do you think that is?
It could be more Arabs and more Muslims are moving in, and so maybe white people are feeling like, oh, they're starting
maybe threatened,
like they're leaving out, they're moving out, they're in their space. This is what used to be theirs, and now they're kind of they're seeing it being taken by, Arabs and Muslims, and so maybe they're just, upset
That's
about
really
it.
surprising.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, but yeah, I mean, no, I'd have people cuss me out on the street. But stuff did happen in Houston as well.
Okay.
But generally, Houston is it's very multicultural. It's very diverse. That was a huge shock to me. I didn't realize how culturally diverse Houston would be. But they're so polite. But I got egged in Houston. I got some sockless lady at Kroger telling me to not dress like this unless I'm a nun. I mean, it's stuff.
I mean, we've all experienced some of it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, some people more than others, of course, right? Yeah.
Stuff happens to me. My friends are like, how does this stuff happen to you? Like, I am writing a book. I need this to happen to me.
So what do? You go around, and you pick up little tidbits along the way. How does it work? Because I mean, I see that there are these interactions with your husband, jihad, which is the worst possible name that you could pick, living in the West.
Or the best.
The best. That's another way of looking at it.
Illustrator, for someone who's making jokes.
Yeah.
There's a match made in heaven. So a lot of
So you draw from your life.
Some of it is from my life. Some of it is from the headlines, things that have happened to other people. Some of it is from family, friends, sisters, and they kind of just tell me these stuff, and I turned it into a comic. So it's not all based on me, but I do just put it all on my character. That's why I say she's kind of loosely based on me, because sometimes the things that she'll say are things that I wish I had said in the moment. We all wish we had that elevator wit.
Yeah. I was reading an article where you said that you rehearse answers to things that people could possibly, and I thought that was so clever. I mean, that's not something that I would have thought to do, but sometimes you're in the moment and you want to say something, and then you're just so stunned into silence, And
that still happens. As many times as I practice, it's still there. But I do. I'll practice, and then there's a. I think I put it in there. I'm not sure, but then I don't practice enough when people say something nice.
You don't know what to say in response.
Like, I don't know, and then I'll take it in a wrong. No, she's being nice. So I need to practice more on like how to accept nice things. And,
So what do you intend? What are your future plans? I know you have another book coming out in March.
Yes,
2020. So what are your plans? What is the intention behind the book? Tell me a little bit about the book.
So the next book's called That Can Be Arranged, and it is a love story. It is how I met my husband, but more of it is really kind of figuring out how to love myself before I can really love somebody else, and really understanding my own value and self-worth, because I very much was like, I'm just going to marry whoever the first guy is that really shows interest in me, because I'm not worth, it really was my confidence and it was all really, really down there, and I thought that was the end-all be-all of my life, was to get married, and I think that's a very cultural thing.
A lot of women, Muslim women, have that kind of pressure to get married, right?
It's at every wedding that you go to, every mosque that you go to, it's there, and so I think this was just this idea that I'm worth the wait, and I'm definitely worth figuring out what I want in a partner, and so it takes the reader through that journey of how I understood love and loving myself, and then eventually loving.
Is it as funny as this book?
I think it's hilarious. I mean, I honestly don't like giving myself compliments, but every time I go back to reread it, I crack up laughing.
So this book, Yes, I'm Hot in This, does it appeal to non-Muslims as well, or does it have a largely Muslim audience?
I think because it falls under that genre of edutainment, it's an it's an educational book. I think it definitely is, what's the word? Appeals to non-Muslims as well as Muslims, and I've definitely found that, like I said, I thought this was going to be very niche, and it turned out that there are a lot of non-Muslims that really do enjoy reading, because I think it's in such a light humor.
Yes.
It's not intimidating. It's something that they can consume and answers questions that they might be too afraid to ask. But the biggest thing, I do hope, and I always say this, that when people read this who are not Muslim, that they understand that this is really just a Muslim experience and not the Muslim experience, because I feel like they conflate, it's a Muslim.
I think you do that very well. I mean, you show that, I'm interested in this sort of food. I love eating. I love, I watch movies. I do all these sorts of things just like the average person does, but at the same time, I deal with these issues that you don't have to deal with because you're not Muslim as well. So you bridge the two, the universal and the,
I hope that they see that.
Yeah, I hope so too. Huda, what advice do you have for people who want to incorporate Muslim characters into their work? How do they avoid falling into all of the stereotypes and all of the things that you've mentioned, the microaggressions that you've mentioned? How do they avoid doing that?
I think you know, that's such, I get asked that a lot, and it's such a hard, I don't know how to answer it very well, so I will try.
Do you think someone who's not a Muslim can incorporate a Muslim character very well within their writing or within their art?
I think there are some things that, like, if we're, like, that can be, how do I explain this? I don't want to see Muslim characters doing things that other Muslims look at and be like, that's, what are you doing? That's, and the Muslims don't do that, or the majority of Muslims don't do that. Like if your Muslim character drinks, like we all know there are Muslims who drink, but it's not something that is known to be a Muslim trait or characteristic. So if you're going to just have a Muslim there that's doing something, you know, just knowing, just having knowledge of what Muslims do and don't do, it's such a, I don't know how to answer, because we're so different. So it's like there's no really wrong way. I feel like I'm blabbing because I don't know how to answer. Can you tell? I don't know how to answer this question.
That's fair.
It's
Yeah.
like every time
well,
I've seen
you've done it very well,
character,
so I'm wondering how someone else can do
Muslim,
it. Yeah, exactly.
So I know the idiosyncrasies and the novelty that comes with it, and the nuances of it all. So it's something that I can navigate a little bit more carefully. And if I make a mistake, people will be like, you know, Muslims will be like, okay, she's a Muslim, she made mistakes. You know,
Do they do that?
No. They will spear me alive.
What advice do you have for a Muslim writer or somebody who's starting out and you know, wants to take the similar route that you have? I'm sure you've learned a lot through this journey.
I mean, the biggest thing, and it took me years to get over the biggest obstacle, which was just to do it. And I mean, you don't have to have, like, they told me to build a base, but I had no idea what that meant. And I was like, if they're not going to publish me, I'm just going to do it myself. I'm just going to, like, post it online and try to build a following. I'm going to do self-publishing. I'm not going to wait until everything is perfect. When I started drawing, I didn't know how to draw. I didn't have the tools. I didn't have anything. I was just like, I'm literally going to draw stick figures with a pencil and paper and just scan it and upload it. And it felt like a caveman, you know, like trying to build fire. Like, you know, but I didn't let it stop me. I was trying, and I invested in the software. I invested in the hardware, and I invested in watching different you know, tutorials on how to become a better artist. And I didn't let it stop me, and I just kept going. And so but I didn't let it stop me from posting either. I was still posting, and you could kind of see, if you go all the way back, that I start off very rough.
I noticed the images were much more rudimentary.
Yeah, and it gets
a lot more complex.
It gets better. So as you're learning, continue to post and continue to do. And if you want to publish a story, I mean, just publish it, put it out there, let people read it, let your family read it, you know, and Google. Like, Google is your friend. I was going to self-publish. I was going to start a Kickstarter or a Launch Good, and try to figure it out, and make connections with people in the same kind of field that you're with, and make a lot of dua. I think that's number one, is just because I truly feel like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala really did bless me in every single step. That I felt like this was definitely something. Don't sacrifice your deen for what you're doing. I try really hard not to sell out. I don't want to put ever money or fame above my deen, and I think that's something, you know, when you do something for the sake of Allah, that may Allah put barakah in it, and I pray that Allah puts barakah in my actions and what I'm doing. I mean, I think that would be the best advice that I would give.
Oh, thank you for that advice, Huda, and thank you for appearing on our show, and I hope you have a wonderful visit in Toronto.
Thank you so much. Jazakallah khairan.